Hi, my name is Albert Cohen, and it's an honor to stand up in front of all of you here today. So, I was born in Mexico, along with my two younger sisters. And one morning, after my dad had gone to work, my mom woke me up. I was 5 at the time. She woke me up frantically and said, "Grab your sisters, we're leaving." And I had no idea what was going on at the time. But in the back of my head, I knew. I knew that we were leaving for good to escape from my abusive father in Mexico. So that morning, I got my sisters. We packed maybe one suitcase full of clothing, got on the earliest plane and flew to Brooklyn, where we had begun our new lives, and from then on things were very different. So we were immigrants who came on visitor's visa that had eventually expired, but we couldn't go anywhere else. So our lives in America were basically poor, with my mother taking care of my sisters and I, three kids on her own, trying to make sure that we not only survive but thrive. And I grew up very differently than a lot of my friends around me. We would move from house to house. I don't remember ever staying in a house for more than a year. And new house meant new friends and new neighbors. And I remember once I had started high school, seeing how everyone around me had more steady lives and more full families, I began to really feel resentful. And that was my feeling going into high school. I was very resentful of the life I had. And, I would ask myself, why don't I have a father? Why don't I have money to go on vacations like all my friends do? Um, why can't I connect religiously because I don't have a father? Why don't I have these things? And I was so focused on what I didn't have. And then one day, I had had an experience that had changed my life forever in the way I thought about everything. So in high school, we were expected to either bring lunch from our house or to buy lunch. So my mom would always, as the loving woman she was, would always make me lunch before I left for school. And one day it was snowing, and I was in a rush to go, and I left, and I got to school, and we were in the cafeteria eating breakfast, and the security guard comes downstairs and says, "Hey Albert, your mom's outside." And I was like, "What do you mean she's outside? Like, it's snowing out. We live like 20 minutes away. We don't have a car. Well, what? She's not outside." He's like, "Yeah, she's outside asking for you." So I rushed up the stairs and opened the door, and I see my mother out there, freezing in her jacket, holding a bag, and she's like, "Albert, you forgot your lunch at home." And I was like, "Mom," that's all I said. I was speechless. I'm like, so I told her thank you. I grabbed the lunch and I hugged her goodbye, and on she went. And for the next 2 hours, maybe, I was just walking outside in the snow, crying my eyes out, thinking to myself, how could I be resentful of a life like this? While other people may have two parents, I have one that's worth a million. I have two amazing sisters. I have a house, I have shelter, I have food at home, I go to school. And after that day, my feelings went really transformed from resentfulness to appreciation. And I had really discovered myself in that moment. Before that, I didn't know who I was or what I was supposed to be doing with my life. But after that moment, I knew who I was, and I had a much clearer picture and understanding of my life and my situation and what I had to do. From then on, I was Albert Cohen, my mother's son, and my own person that and I had a goal. My goal was to make sure I could do whatever it takes to get my family out of the situation we were in. And throughout high school, I learned very early on the maturity of an adult. I learned to work and pay the bills and pay the rent and help raise my younger sisters and make sure that I was always, up to par and actually achieving and thriving in school, to always carry on that long-term goal. And I felt like in high school, I knew myself very well. After I graduated high school, I went to Brooklyn College. And in Brooklyn College, I had this very luxurious opportunity. The opportunity to explore who I was and where I came from. The opportunity to explore my intersectionality. And a lot of that happened through the Hillel. The Hillel had emphasized identity and ethnicity and background. And I was very interested and intrigued, so I joined a lot of clubs and events. Um, tried my best to dip my feet everywhere I could. And I remember in the beginning, it was this exhilarating rush of understanding where I come from, and I realized that I'm an immigrant and what that means, and I'm from Mexico and what that implies, and I knew that I was Jewish and what that implies, and that I have Syrian background and what that implies, and I thought I began to understand myself a lot more. But as time went on, things got blurry. Suddenly, I had lost sight of who I was, which was counterintuitive to what I thought I'd been doing the entire time. I had been exploring myself, but in doing that, I felt like my essence went away, and all that mattered in the end of the day was where I was from and what I was born into, because that's all anyone would ask. That's almost all. That's how almost all professional conversation went. And conversations about exploring myself and my identity was always about where I was from and where I was born into. I remember I had taken on a leadership role in the David Project, and I was an intern, and I had the opportunity to go to the first ever Latinos and Jews conference in Miami. And the point of the conference was to build bridges and alliances between the two communities. Um, I had gone as one of the Brooklyn College representatives, and I remember being there, sitting down in a discussion, and all the Latinos were speaking about their feelings and morals and things that they thought could be better or different. And they would always reference their ethnicity and where they were born and their background as justification almost. And all the Jews would talk about their beliefs and their morals and what they thought should be different. And they would always reference the fact that they were Jewish or they were from Israel. And I remember sitting there thinking, I'm both of these things in a way. And as much as I agree with everyone, I don't feel this way because of where I was from, because of where I was born. I believe that everyone should be treated equally and fairly and loved. I believe that everyone has potential to do whatever they feel like they should do. And in that moment, it clicked that it seemed to be that the entire focus of a person's worth, the entire focus of my worth, had shifted from what I thought I was and what I thought I had earned and what my goals and motivations were. And it shifted from that to being, where are you from and what were you born into? Which the way I saw was just to roll the dice. Everyone's from somewhere else. And not everyone's going to have the same background. But why should that determine your worth? And I told myself this, and when I got back to college after that conference, I decided to really self-analyze and introspect. And I discovered that I had lost my motivation to do anything because I thought I was doing enough. I thought by staying by learning about my ethnicity, I thought I was doing more for myself, but in reality I was just holding myself back. I had stopped pushing the boundaries of what I could do in life because all of a sudden I felt limited by these labels that I was born into. So after I had realized this, I had finally was able to break free of these chains. One person that really helped me do that was Rosita, a Hillel, a Hillel representative and faculty member that really saw me for me and knew what I was capable of and would always ask me about myself and my dreams and my motivations. And past that, after that, I was able to thankfully pick a direction in life. I was able to push myself to really discover what I liked and what I wanted from a career. That's how I found myself in physical therapy. I found more hobbies for myself. I found that I was capable of more than I was being told. And I ended up teaching myself the violin. And I had found and rediscovered, in a sense, I had rediscovered my sense of direction and my goals. And I was able to reestablish that connection to myself because I had understood at the end of the day that it wasn't what I was born into that mattered. Just because everyone else thought that that was important didn't mean that that's all that was important. And although my background and intersectionality does affect my life, I understand that. But I was more open, and I hope we can all be more open to exploring who we are on the inside and, in essence, what we could do with the life we've been given. Thank you.